Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Penn Engineering Online's admissions webinar. My name is Jacquie Panto. I am the Associate Director of Admissions for Penn Engineering Online, and I'm so glad to see so many people joining us today. We have a great webinar planned for you. Today, we are going to be focusing on our Career Services Department. We also have actually two alumni and one student with us today, and they are going to be talking about their journey through our programs, what they're doing now, how they got there, and you're just going to hear such valuable information directly from our alumni and from our student panelists today. So lots of great information coming your way, and again, we are thrilled to have so many of you join us today. So before we actually get started, I just wanted to go over some housekeeping tips, some useful information. First, I did want to let you know that you're being recorded. There is no need to take notes. You can go back and watch the recording. And I might want to mention that we have a pretty extensive library of past webinar recordings. They are an incredible resource to help you learn about our programs, learn about our community. We have lots of student webinars where they talk about our community and all the resources that are provided to be successful. We have other alumni panelist webinars, just lots of different webinars. They're great resources. I really urge you to go to our website and to look at some of our past recordings as well. So today during the webinar, if you have questions, absolutely, we want you to ask them. So please, if you can use the Q&A toolbar on Zoom, write your questions, or I should say, type your questions in that area. And then we have folks, our admissions team behind the scenes, and they'll be answering those questions right in the Zoom toolbar. You'll be able to get immediate answers to your questions. So I think we're set to go. What I'd first like to do is to give you some information on our programs that we offer here at Penn Engineering Online. So we have three online programs that we're offering. We have our MCIT Online program, which is our Masters of Computer and Information Technology program. We have our MSE-DS program, which is our Masters of Science in Engineering and Data Science program. And then we have our MSE-AI program, which is our brand new program. That's our Masters of Science in Engineering and Artificial Intelligence program. So three great programs, and I just want to explain a little bit of the differences and who the programs are designed for. So our MCIT Online program, if you are an individual who has no computer science background, or you have very little computer science background, so you're not a computer science major, maybe you were a finance major, economics major, you're an architect, a nurse, whatever it may be, a musician, but you're looking for those technology, those computer science skills, then the MCIT program would be the program for you. So it's really a one-of-a-kind graduate level degree program for non-computer science majors. The knowledge that's conferred in that program is the same knowledge conferred in a traditional Masters of Computer Science program. So really it's designed for any major other than a computer science major. The program consists of 6 core courses and 4 electives for a total of 10 courses. Then we have our MSE-DS online program, our data science program. That's a program, if you were someone that has a computer science undergraduate degree, or maybe a computer science minor, like maybe 4 courses in computer science, or perhaps you have a highly degree and you've been working in the field of data science, then this is a program definitely that's designed for you. It allows you to take a deep dive in the area of data science. So you do need either a computer science degree or 4 computer science courses like a minor, or at least a highly quantitative degree working in the field. This curriculum also consists of 10 courses. It's 4 core courses, 4 technical electives, and then 2 open electives. And then our brand new online program, which we're thrilled to have announced just a couple of months ago. Right now, we're accepting applications for our first cohort in spring 2025. That's our Masters of Science in Engineering and Artificial Intelligence online program. So if you are someone that has a computer science degree or a computer engineering degree, and you're working in the field, in the area, and you're really looking to upskill and to really take that next step, that next level, then our MSE-AI Online program is the program for you. It's the first of its kind of any Ivy League institution. So right now, we're the only Ivy League institution that's offering an MSE-AI Online program. And again, it is designed for computer science or computer engineering majors or degrees rather that are equivalent. And again, also 10 courses. It consists of 7 core courses, 2 technical electives, and then 1 free or open elective. So those are the programs, and hopefully you can figure out which one you fall into. If you have questions, the admissions team is always happy to help with that as well. So next, I just want to point out, right now we are in the middle of our Spring 25 application cycle. Our next deadline, which is our final deadline, and that should say regular application deadline, I apologize, not early. Our regular or final application deadline is November 1st. So you have some time to work on your applications. Decisions will be returned on November 27th, and then you would be required to confirm your decision and make that deposit by December 4th. So it's a little bit of a tight schedule. We're asking our admitted students to do a lot in a short amount of time, but we know it can happen, and we're going to get it done. So as far as application elements, I'm not going to go into each one in detail, but in order to submit your application, you're going to need a resume, a personal statement. All college transcripts need to be uploaded into the application. There's a $90 application fee. You're able to submit your application at that point. Letters of recommendation can come after you submit your application. All you're going to do in the application is put the information in there for recommenders. GRE is optional, it's not required. And then obviously a proof of English proficiency, which is a TOEFL test score. If that is required, if it's applicable to you, then it would be required. If you have questions on any of the application elements, I urge you to sign up for office hours. Come to another event. We have coffee chats all month long in the month of September as well as October. There's office hours almost every day of the week. Of course, you can email us, and there's going to be other webinars as well during September that'll focus more on application elements. We're happy to help you, but I want to make sure we leave a lot of time for our panelists and for our great discussions on our career services resources, as well as hearing from our alumni and our student panelists today. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Saryu Sanghani, and she is our amazing career advisor, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Saryu, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Jackie, and thanks so much for the introduction. I'll formally introduce myself again. My name is Saryu Sanghani. I'm a career advisor for our Penn Engineering Online career services team. And in our time today, I'm going to share a little bit more about the services, the resources, and the tools, the events and programs that our team is able to offer our online engineering students, along with some data about our career outcomes from our online programs. So with that, I can dive into how students in this program connect with employers, alumni, and peers. So there are a few different ways that our students are able to engage with employers. Penn is a handshake school, so we use Handshake as a platform online to connect with employers. Essentially, how that works is when a company comes to us and says, hey, we want to hire Penn students or we want to recruit Penn engineering talent, we actually direct them to our Handshake platform, which is where they directly post jobs specific for Penn students. So it kind of filters out the rest of the internet and everyone globally that you might be competing with, as those jobs are specific for Penn students, jobs or internships. We also run our career fair on Handshake, and we're able to have information sessions with our with employers on Handshake, one-on-ones, interviews, and just other opportunities to connect with employers. There's so many other ways that Handshake can be used as well. You can go to employer websites and read reviews and interview notes from other folks from other Handshake users that have applied for positions at that company. So Handshake is kind of our top way that our students connect with employers. In addition to Handshake, we have a couple of other career databases that our students get access to through Penn subscriptions. One is Career Shift. This is just an enormous company and contact database, and it's really great to uncover new employers using various search criteria. So if you are, kind of locked into a certain geographic location, you can use Career Shift to narrow down a target company list or target employers that you want to apply to when considering your career goals. And so Career Shift is really great in that sense. And there's also contacts in there too. So if you're looking for specific folks at different companies, you can also use that to search for people in Career Shift. So definitely a great resource. And then the third one that I want to share, and this isn't the final one, this is just the third one that I'm sharing in today's webinar, but we have many, many more resources that also help students connect with employers. But the third that I'll share today is called Going Global. This is a fabulous resource for people globally, and hence a great resource for Penn Engineering Online students because this is a global community. So there are multiple uses for Going Global. One is if you are not located in the United States, but you would like a job in the United States, and maybe you're an international student, you can use Going Global to look at a database of employers that have provided H-1B visas and sponsor students in the past. So that can kind of help you generate a target company list for companies that might be interested in hiring you, when you enter your job search. The other way that I think Going Global is really helpful is that it's not just for that kind of one-way career search. So let's say you actually live in the United States and you're like, hey, I actually want to move to Germany, right? What's the job market like there? Or what are the hiring best practices? Or what are companies that have hired people from the US before for roles in Germany? So in that sense, it's a kind of a very multi-dimensional platform and can be useful for anyone that's looking for roles outside of wherever they're located. So a great resource there to connect with employers. Another way to connect with employers is actually through our students and alumni. A really great thing about Penn Engineering Online is that students and alumni are at various points in their career. And so you can connect with people who are already maybe working for the companies that you're interested in. So 3 different ways that you might be able to do that are through our student Slack channels. Our Slack channel is our Slack community is just a very vibrant community that is constantly buzzing. There are so many different channels. I know there's at least more than 50, if not more than 100. I'm not sure exactly the total, but certainly more than 50. And so many different Slack channels where students can ask questions. So I've just listed a few on the slide. You can see that we have a Slack channel for jobs and careers, another for internships. Both of these are used fairly frequently. Folks are often posting positions from their organizations, or even asking for advice from other folks that have navigated these processes before. We also have channels based on specific role types and industry interests, so product management, data science, fintech. There are certainly quite a few others for certain niche interests that students in our programs have. And then we also have channels for various career resources that can help you in your journey. So we have an annual job search club, which I'll definitely be talking about more later on in today's presentation, and our technical interview coaching program. But both of those Slack channels are great places to connect with other people who are kind of at the same place as you, and also with alumni who might be, who made it through the same process that you're seeking to get through. So Slack is a great place to connect with others. We also have LinkedIn groups for our various programs, and we have thousands of current students and alumni in each of those. Again, another great place where you can use filters to find folks that are already in the roles that you're hoping to get into, or working at the companies that you hope to work at one day, and you can network with them there. And then finally, People Grove is our alumni mentoring platform. It is exclusive for Penn Engineering. So all of our Penn Engineering on-campus and online alumni and students are in that platform. It's an opt-in platform for folks in that community. And that's a great place to reach out to alumni and also current students and network, have an informational interview, gain insights about a company, and eventually, ideally, if it makes sense for that connection, request a referral for a company that you might be interested in applying for down the line. So lots of ways to connect with employers, with your peers, and with alumni in the realm of career services. Awesome. So next, I'd like to share a little bit more about our career services events. These are just some of the highlights, but certainly there are other things that are happening throughout the year. We host an annual virtual career fair, allowing our students who are located all over the world to still engage with employers. If you think of a traditional in-person career fair that's taking place in a gym and you have a line of people, kind of waiting to talk to a recruiter, we try to model that and create a very similar career fair experience, but without the line. So through Handshake, we are able to have one-on-one meet and greets with each of the employers. So the same way that you would have a small conversation with someone at a career fair, with a recruiter at a career fair, you can do that through our virtual career fair. And then they also have recruiter information sessions where our recruiters, might have a group session sharing a little bit more about their organization and opportunities that are relevant to our students. Some top employers who've engaged with our career fairs in the past include Meta, TikTok, Comcast, and MathWorks. So great organizations that are recruiting our students. Another type of event that we do in our Penn Engineering Online programs, and one that I'm particularly fond of, is our road trip program. This is where essentially members of our career services team and members of our academic advising team travel to different cities where there is a lot of tech growth, or a lot of tech companies that are hiring tech talent, to essentially connect local students, so students in those areas, to employers and network with alumni in those cities. So an employer site visit typically contains a session with a recruiter at that organization, a tour of the office, which is really cool just to learn a little bit more about what it's like to work at each of those organizations, and then a networking session with alumni, Penn alumni who work at that company. So in the past, we visited New York City, Seattle, we've been to the Bay Area, Boston. I know we've also been to Vancouver before as well. And these are just 5 of the companies that we've visited in the past. So Google, Amazon, Meta, Palantir, and Adobe. But again, there's many more. I think we've been to Expedia, TripAdvisor, Stripe. So some really cool companies that are hiring our students. And we have the opportunity for our online students to get together in person and get to see these companies as well. We also do employer information sessions spontaneously throughout the year. So whenever an employer connects with us and, wants to know a little bit more about our Penn Engineering Online programs, we'll try and build out an information session where they can learn a little bit more about each of you, and, do a presentation for you on Handshake. So another way to engage with employers. We also love our alumni, and that's, folks that you're going to get to meet today in today's panel. But we often do alumni spotlights just to get their perspectives and their insights from their experiences. So a couple of the more recent ones that we've done are a data scientist, product manager, and software engineer walk into an office. And it was essentially a compare and contrast of 3 different career outcomes that are very popular in our Penn Engineering Online programs. And then just earlier this month, I facilitated a panel with students and alumni about jobs and internships outside of GMAM. And that stands for Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and Meta. There are different ways to use an acronym for those companies, but essentially that panel was about diversifying the job search and how to uncover different companies that you might want to target. And lastly, all year round, we are doing skill building sessions about resume preparation, cover letter writing, how to network with folks, job search and internship search strategies, and ultimately offer negotiation when you get that the offer that you've been waiting for. So lots going on all year round. Great. So a couple other programs and resources that are a little bit more specific that I'd love to spotlight for you all today. One is Spark. This is our annual summer coding competition, and it's for our MCIT Online students. The reason we built out Spark a few years ago is that we knew that many of our MCIT Online students are career-changing students. And when you're career-changing, it's typically a little bit challenging to take a resume that's maybe for a different industry and to try and pivot it to make it look like it's for the tech industry. And the essential component there is having a project section, a side project section, where you're really showcasing your technical skills in action. And so we built out Spark a few years ago as an opportunity for students in this program to collaborate with one another, to be in small groups for 12 weeks in the summer, and to have a mentor who would be an alumni from our program to build out a creative personal side project. So at the end of the competition, the deliverable is that, not only did you build out a website, an app, a database, whatever it is, but also that you get to put that on your resume and showcase how you not only gain the skills from your MCIT degree, but you know how to use them as well. So those final projects are shared with a panel of judges. And there is a prize involved, and our winning team receives a reimbursement towards any professional development opportunity related to their career goals. So as an example, if you're interested in attending Grace Hopper Conference, your winning prize could be a reimbursement towards that registration fee. Or if you're looking for Leak Code Premium or something like that, you can use the reimbursement for access to that. So a really great program that we're able to offer each year. And then two other programs that I'd like to feature are our annual Job Search Club and our semesterly technical interview coaching program. So our annual Job Search Club is a 6-week program that we run in the spring semester each year. We just ran it for the first time last year, so a very exciting initiative. And there are different topics each week. There's a skill building component where we teach, kind of the 101 on that topic. And then our alumni facilitation leaders have smaller group discussions with small groups throughout that week about that specific topic. And there are little activities. And it's a way to network with one another, but also to feel a sense of community and peer support and accountability while working through the job search. Many of the students are juggling many different responsibilities, and having a structured support group like this while navigating the job search can be really helpful. And the other program is our semesterly technical interview coaching program. This is also a relatively new program, but we're in our 3rd iteration of it right now, which is really exciting. But we have a technical interview coach who is either a current student who's farther along in the program or an alum who's very familiar with technical interview preparation tools, and they're able to run weekly leak code sessions where our students get practice with one another, practice coding, and then also weekly technical mock interviews where the students have the opportunity to test one another and ask each other questions and code and communicate live. So some really neat programs to supplement what you're doing in your coursework, just to make sure that you're developing the skills that you need to enter the job market. All right, and my last slide, I want to talk just briefly about some career outcomes. My colleagues who manage our career outcomes project are very diligent and committed to getting the highest knowledge rate possible. Essentially, what builds our career outcomes report is that my colleagues send out a survey to all of our graduating students just before they graduate and for up to 6 months after they graduate, collecting data about where the degree took them. So where did they end up? Did they continue their education? Did they pursue a different degree? Or where did they end up? What job do they have? And so we collect data about the employers and also the job titles of those students. So I've linked a few on the slide that's displayed on the screen. We also collect data about annual salaries, just so that students can make informed decisions about where they want to be. The data so far is for our MCIT Online program because we don't have as many graduates from our MSE-DS program just yet, but they're getting there since that's a newer program. If you're interested in career outcomes for our MSE-DS program, I recommend looking at our MSE-DS on-campus career outcomes report, which has really comparable data. And that's what we did for MCIT before we had as many graduates as we do now. So just a really great resource. This is available on our website, and you can check this out for more details if you want to learn a little bit more about where our students end up. And with that, I would love to spend the rest of our time introducing the panelists and allowing them to share their journeys. So today we have 3 different folks joining us. Some of these folks are alumni, some are current students or at various stages in their degree program. So we've got Nick Nazario, Lexie Alvin, and David Jones. I'd love for each of you to tell us a little bit more about where you are, what you did before Penn Engineering Online, and what you do currently. And Lexie, we can get started with you.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Lexie, as Saryu said, and I am actually an alum. I joined MCIT, I think, in the first cohort in 2019, right after I graduated from my undergrad in economics. And I was currently, at the time I was working, basically most of the time I was through MCIT, I was working as a banking analyst and then associate. So I was in finance, and I wasn't really sure at that time what I wanted to do with the program. I just knew that I liked computer science, I liked coding, I had some interest in this, and found this structured approach to learning it for people who didn't have any kind of background. So I think that's probably a similar reason that most people will have joined the program. But that was kind of how I got set up in the program, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to pursue data science, software engineering, or product management, and spent a lot of time throughout the program throughout the time I spent there exploring those different options and ended up as a product manager. It's a great fit for me. It's a great role. And yeah, that's pretty much my process to product management.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lexi. I appreciate the introduction, and we're going to dig into all those details in just a little bit. So thanks for giving us an overview of your career journey. David, we'll take it over to you if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Saryu. Hi, folks. My name is David Jones. My undergraduate is in chemical engineering. I spent 12 years in semiconductors and nanotechnology as a process engineer. I did a master's degree program before MCIT in nanotechnology at Penn. But as I was going through, I looked at MCIT. I looked into the program, and then just the wheel, like the gears started moving. The things started to click for me in my brain to think, I think pivoting to computer science is a really good idea in like software engineering and working on code for a living. And so yeah, I ended up starting MCIT like right after I finished my first master's. And it's been an absolute blast so far. I really, really enjoy it. So I ended up pivoting into software engineering. I haven't graduated yet. I have a few courses to go, but was able to make the pivot into software engineering before graduating. I'm sure we're planning on discussing that later, but yeah, I think that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David. And
Mhm.
we're definitely going to dig in a little bit more about your career journey and how you were able to make that transition before you even finish the program, which I think is awesome. Nick, I'll take it over to you for an introduction and a brief summary about your career journey.
Thank you, Saryu. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Nazario. I'm an MCIT graduate from 2023. I started MCIT in 2021, but before MCIT, I earned a finance degree and I spent 3 years working in corporate finance. And in my last semester of the program, I started applying for jobs, and now I'm currently a software engineer for a company in Orlando.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Nick. And also, again, another success story of, landing that tech job before you even graduated. I know it was a little bit closer to that finish line, but still definitely a success story there. So fantastic. Thank you all so much. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some of our questions. My first question for you all is, how did you decide that Penn Engineering Online was a good fit for you? So when you were a prospective student and, David, as you said, when those gears started turning for each of you, when you decided that you wanted to learn some new skills, how did you decide that Penn Engineering Online was a good fit for your personal and professional goals? And David, we can actually get started with you first.
Sure. So something I realized was that so I was doing my first master's program. Right around the middle of it was when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And I noticed that once everything went online, my grades went up. And I found personally that the online classes, especially for like really dense technical material, I found them to be a bit of a better fit for me versus like traditional courses, because for one thing, online courses have a pause button, whereas the professor doesn't live, right? So if I need to if I need to pause the recording and let my brain sort of catch up, like having the online format, I find to be a huge advantage. And it's also for those of us that are working professionals, the format is really, really flexible, right? So if you get time to get a little bit of lecture here, get in a little bit of lecture here, think about the homework there, the online format is really great for that. And as a work, if you also work full time like I do, like you really appreciate that. So the online format is really great. The computer science training without the prior background is also really helpful, right? Because I have STEM background, but it's not in computer science. So if I want to try to make the case for somebody to hire me as a software engineer, I mean, they might hire me as a semiconductor process engineer, but maybe not as a software engineer without the computer science knowledge. So so MCIT Online's it's like perfect for that too. And Yeah, and I worked at Penn. I was very familiar with the Penn community. Penn community is just really great. And it sort of made sense there. So
Awesome.
those are
Thanks so much,
some
David. And I
thoughts.
think you touch on something that is so valuable to our MCIT Online students or Penn Engineering Online students in general, and that's that flexibility. But, I also appreciate kind of your personal experience navigating online learning itself and how it was a better fit for your learning needs and being able to pause and process the information as needed. So thank you for sharing that. Nick, we'll take it over to you. How did you decide that Penn Engineering Online was a good fit for you?
Sure. So during my final semester of undergrad, I took a financial modeling course that was originally intended to be in Excel, but ended up being in Python due to a last minute professor change. I stuck with the course because I was very interested in financial modeling, but I soon found that I was more interested in the Python portion of the course than the financial modeling piece. However, it was my final semester of undergrad. I had already signed a job offer, signed a lease. So at that point, I couldn't really change majors or make a pivot to an on-campus grad school. So I got to Pennsylvania, which is where I started my career, and I looked for if any schools nearby had any programs that would be flexible enough for me to do while working full time, because now I had expenses and things of that nature that wouldn't allow me to just drop the workforce or drop working. So I found Penn Engineering, and I was really grateful for the program, and that's the point where I knew it was a great fit for me.
Fantastic. And I know in our conversations you've talked a little bit more about that specific transition of, when you were close to that undergrad finish line and that's when, the new excitement sparked in you for a transition to technology. And in that sense, I think, again, Penn Engineering Online and its flexibility and ability to kind of fill the gaps that folks might have experienced from their undergrad or, from wherever they are in their careers right now is really awesome. So thanks, Nick, for sharing a little bit more about your story. And Lexi, over to you. What made you decide that Penn Engineering Online was a good fit for you?
Yeah, I think I had some similar experiences to what everyone else has said, but I think I also had the experience of taking, it was sort of a curiosity choice for me, but when I was a senior in undergrad, I decided to kind of just audit the freshman computer science class and ended up just really, really enjoying it. So I knew I wanted to pursue that somehow. I wasn't really seeing that as a career change at the time. I just knew that I wanted kind of a more structured way to learn more about computer science and coding. So at the time, I was also trying to do some free resources, some online things that I just really just couldn't get the structure down to actually learn what I wanted and get what I wanted out of those courses. So I knew I wanted something structured because I just started working. I'd already assumed that it was going to be online. So I was just looking for the right fit and came across MCIT, and with it being online and for people with no background in computer science, it just seemed like the perfect option. So that's how I ended up joining the program.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lexi. And I think you kind of add the final cherry on top to why Penn Engineering Online is a good fit for anyone that's looking to gain those skills in a very structured space, right? Like I like the way that you phrase that there are many different options there out there online for how you can gain these skills. But the great thing about Penn Engineering Online is that these are degree programs, these are certificate programs, and these are great ways to really have that, not only that you're gaining those skills, even though they're online asynchronous classes, but you're having the support through faculty, through TAs, through office hours, things like that to help you get those skills and get to where you want to be in your career. So that's fantastic. The next question that I have for each of you is about your job search or your, kind of internship search experience. So how did the skills gained in this program help you, achieve your career goals? And Nick, we can start with you.
Sure, I'll start with the curriculum really does help prepare you for a job, whether it be software engineering, data science, product management, whatever it is that you want to do. One course I'll highlight in particular from MCIT was CIT 596, which is the algorithms course. It is a little bit more theoretical in the sense that you don't code, right? So it sounds like it might not be super useful for interviews because you're writing paragraphs instead of coding. But the course staff is aware of that. So every week, the course staff would post lead code problems, which are challenges that help prepare you for coding interviews related to the topics we were learning weekly. So on top of the theoretical content we were learning in class, we receive lead code problems that align with the material and would help better prepare us for interviews. And as for my job search, I focused on the Orlando area, which is where I live now. I wasn't interested in moving, and I chose the defense industry because that's one of the bigger areas here, and luckily I was successful in my jump hunt, and I've now been a software engineer for, I guess, almost 2 years now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nick. And you're absolutely right. There are certain core classes that are just so essential for technical interview preparation. And I'm glad that you had that experience that, kind of helped push you towards that change from finance to software engineering. Lexi, will take it over to you about your job and internship search experience and how the skills gained in this program helped you achieve your career goals.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different for me. I was never actually looking for software engineering jobs. When I was in the program, I was kind of deciding between data science and product management. So I have some experience looking for both those as internships and as jobs. And I think for data science in particular, it's super useful. I focused my electives around the assumption that I would either go into data science or even in product management, that would be the sort of affinity that I would have as a product manager. And that was extremely useful. I think data science interviews are not usually necessarily about live coding, but there'll be a lot of things that you'll need to recall from your courses or potentially take-home assignments that you'll need to do after the fact. And I think things that were really useful for me is I remember specifically one professor had us write down a list of skills to kind of take forward into our job search, into our potential future jobs, that would just have like kind of the high level overview of things that we would want to remember. And I was always referencing that back when I would go into interviews just to prepare. So I think the professors know what they're setting you up for. They know how to prepare you for, not just the skills that you will need in your job, but how you'll be able to use all of that in the job search as well. So I think that was kind of the data science approach to that, was just the projects that you'll get for data science take-home assignments are very, very similar to the coursework that you do. So it's very easy to just apply that there and to be creative with what you're given on the projects. For product management, it's a little bit different. It's a lot more open-ended. The type of questions that you'll get are very, very different, and the responses they're looking for are not super technical. But having the technical background will help you supplement your answers in a way that can set you apart from other people who are applying to product management roles from a non-technical background. And the data knowledge that you would have from data science electives or other courses is extremely, extremely useful in product management interviews. You'll be able to kind of come in with a different perspective than many people will be in those type of interviews. And I think that is going to be extremely invaluable in those types of interviews.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Lexi. One thing that I love about your response is that document that your professor made you make, of all the top things that you learned from that from that course. It feels like a best practice that everyone should do for every class, so that you can get a quick summary, like a tidbit of, okay, here are the biggest things that I learned in this class, so that when you're going back to prepare for things, or, if you're like, hey, what exactly do I know, right? To go back there and be like, oh, I did learn a lot, and here are all things that I could put on my resume, or these are things that I could talk about in my interview experiences. And thanks for sharing both about your data science experience and product management. I think I may have touched on this earlier, but just to drive it in, our top 3 career outcomes for our MCIT Online degree program are software engineering, data science, and product management. Software engineering is kind of the majority, but data science and product management are an even split for second and third place. So it's great to hear your perspective applying for roles in that area. Thank you, Lexi.
Yep.
And David, we'll take it over to you about your job search experience. I know that you applied for roles after finishing your core coursework. So tell us a little bit more about that experience and, how the skills gained in this program helped you get to where you are.
Sure. Yeah. So in Slack, sorry you mentioned that we have a very active Slack community. This question comes up a lot of folks always have the question, when can I, when can I pivot? When can I make the jump into software engineering, or say data science or product management? But let's say for software engineering, because it's the most popular. So the official advice from the program, which is the advice that I followed and would also agree with, is to plan on trying to, like, the earliest to do it really is after the core courses. So the 6 cores are kind of an equivalent to an undergraduate, or they're kind of like the essentials of an undergraduate in CS. So once you've done the 6 core courses, you really have a pretty, like, in terms of like understanding computer science, you have a pretty solid case to make. to like go to like make to potential employers. So yeah, so what I did was like that was my plan going into it, was to take the core courses, and then just the way the timing worked out. So I finished algorithms with my last core course last spring, and then what happens is then there's a fall recruiting season, so a lot of the entry level jobs are posted in the fall. So that left the summer for me to spend the summer preparing for coding interviews, and so I did lots and lots of LeetCode, which is a common platform people use for interview style practice problems. And so that way I spent the summer kind of preparing on the side. But having the cores was really helpful, because when you go to talk to a recruiter, you can tell them, you can make the case like, well, I haven't graduated yet, but I've done the essentials of the I've learned the essentials of a computer science bachelor's. But there's another thing too that I sort of realized, and I've been this is this approach that I've taken, and I'm actually like really happy I did it this way. So the thing is, there's also kind of an advantage if you're able to make the jump into software engineering before graduating. So like suppose you do the course first and then take the electives. If you make the jump into software engineering first, and then you have a few electives left, if you've worked on the job as a software engineer for a while, you'll be able to make a much more informed decision on which electives to take. So say like in my case, like I work at Vanguard now, and the team that I work on, like our applications are very heavy on managing data. And so there's a database, there's a course, there's an elective course in databases. And right now it's like exactly what I need. But I know that now because I'm taking the electives. I've worked on the job for a little while, and I can make a more informed decision on which electives to take that are going to help me in my role. So if you're able to make the jump, it's really nice to be able to do that. And also because we're online, you can do that. If you're on campus, that's probably not going to fly, right? Because you're physically on campus, you know. Yeah, so that's a little bit about that.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, David. And
Mhm.
I appreciate what you're saying, because I think that's a great job search strategy too, right? A one way to kind of explain the flexibility in your program to employers is, to say, hey, I've taken my core classes, I have all the skills necessary to begin this job, but I haven't taken my electives yet. And now, with the knowledge on the actual job, I can make informed decisions about the electives I take and do even better work at the organization. So I'm really glad that you had that experience and you were able to pivot after taking those core classes. And now you're still a member of our student community, even as you, make that move into that new role. So that's really fantastic. I'm going to pivot away from the job search a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of our career services programs. So I want to start by talking a little bit about Spark, because I know Nick and Lexi, both of you participated in Spark when you were in the program. And Nick, you've also been an alumni mentor for Spark this past summer. So I want to learn a little bit more about your experiences with the summer coding competition. And Nick, if you could get us started, and feel free to tell us a little bit about your experience now this past summer being an alumni mentor as well.
Sure. Thank you, Saryu. So I had the opportunity to participate in Spark, both as a participant and also as an alumni mentor. As a participant, it was a great opportunity for me because you do some resume-worthy projects and courses, but one of the problems you have just in the nature of all academics is you can't publish the code from your assignments online because, academic integrity. But with Spark, it's something you can. So it gives you a code base that you can show employers to showcase some of your skills, but also just building a project from the ground up with less direction. When you have assignments in classes, you have a lot of the requirements specified for you, but this was Spark's more open-ended. So we had the opportunity to build from scratch and learn something and also work in a team. We did things pretty efficiently. We did pull requests to make sure that we were holding each other accountable for good coding standards, but overall it was a great opportunity, and I definitely made some mistakes along the way, which is where the alumni mentor experience comes in. I was able to learn from my mistakes and pass them on to the students I was working with to help them build a project and avoid some of the same mistakes that I had made. And I'll even say their project was probably better than mine. Just being able to pass stuff down for them and help them make decisions quickly as to which technologies they should use and mentoring along the way. And overall, it's yeah, both from both sides, it's a great experience that I would recommend that you participate in if you can.
That's awesome, Nick. Thanks so much. One thing that I love about Spark is that it's a really collaborative, initiative, and something that you have to do really in any field, but particularly in the world of technology, is have the ability to collaborate with one another. And so this is also just a great experience of, working with one another to build something together. So I'm really glad that you've had those kinds of experiences. And Lexi, if you wouldn't mind telling us about your experience being in the Spark program and a little bit more about the project that you worked on.
Yeah, so I think like when I was in the Spark project, basically what we did was kind of, I think it was a pretty simple web app. It wasn't super complicated. But what I think I got most out of that project was really just the opportunity to explore what I liked doing the most. I think still at that time, I was still trying to explore what I wanted to get out of the program. Like I said, I didn't come in with a set career goal. And having the chance to work on something end to end, to come up with the idea, figure out what it was going to be, how you were going to build it, what features it was going to include, was really valuable for me to say, to really focus in on what were the things that I liked doing, what were the things that I was best at doing. And I think that really helped me. I did that over the summer, and that was the summer I was doing my data science internship. And I think that time, both of those experiences at once really helped show me why product was a really good fit for me, actually. So I really appreciated that part of the project. And I think that, without taking the time to really get your hands dirty on something that's difficult, something that you're doing on your own without guidance, that you're figuring out from scratch, that is really where you figure out what you like and what you're good at, because you're going to spend the most time on the things that you like. And that is really what I got out of participating in Spark.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lexi. I think that's great, right? That not only is Spark something that helps you build something that you could put on your resume, but for you is an experience that helped you explore your career interests and narrow some things down, which in that way, it's just such a awesome multi-dimensional learning experience across the board, learning new technical skills, but also learning what you're good at, what you like, what you want to learn a little bit more of, and things like that. So thanks, Lexi. I want to talk a little bit about our Job Search Club, which I had mentioned earlier is our annual 6-week Job Search Club that takes place in the spring. We ran it for the first time in this past spring semester, and Nick was one of our alumni facilitation leaders. So, Nick being on the other side of that, I think you have a valuable perspective to share there. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your experience supporting that initiative.
Sure. The Job Search Club was a 6-week program. I supported in what I believe to be its first iteration. And every week we'd have a new topic related to the job search. Some of the key ones were we started from the ground up and worked our way towards the end of the job search process. We started with finding companies, finding the right companies you want to apply to, how to do that, networking on LinkedIn, building our resumes, and also interview practice. One story from the Job Search Club that really stands out to me was I had one student who would come every single week and he would do the homework assignments that came with the Job Search Club, but he would take them seriously. He didn't just throw them together right before a call. He would take them very seriously. He showed up every week and he ended up getting a job in software engineering. So it was very exciting for me to, see both my work pay off and his work pay off as well. And even after he got the job maybe week 3 or 4 of the program, and he still attended every single week afterwards because he knew that the knowledge he gained there, while he might not need it now, may be applicable later in life, and he wanted to make sure he got it all.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Such a great success story and something that I really enjoyed experiencing and witnessing through you and through the student near the end of that first iteration of the Job Search Club, that it was effective and that it was really helpful for the students that were engaging, and a great way for our alumni to also stay engaged in the program. So thanks, Nick, for sharing that. The last kind of event that I want to talk a little bit about is Fall Fest. We didn't discuss this earlier, but for anyone that's not familiar, our Penn Engineering Online staff run a annual in-person event, a 3-day conference-like event called Fall Fest, typically in October. And that's an opportunity for students across the entire globe to come travel to Penn's campus, get to tour Penn's campus, meet with professors, meet with their peers, folks that they've been on Zoom with before. And I know a couple of you panelists and students have attended Fall Fest in the past. So I'd love to hear your experiences with Fall Fest. It's such a great networking opportunity. So David, if you wouldn't mind telling us about your experiences attending Fall Fest and what you enjoyed about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. there's really nothing like Penn Engineering Online Fall Fest. Because if you've been taking the courses, when you take the courses, you interact with people on Slack and that discussion, the discussion forum, but mostly on Slack. You really like kind of get to know folks, but you don't get to see each other in person. And then there's this cool Fall Fest thing that happens where well, not everybody, but a lot of people come together, and you can be in like a big room with everybody, and you're like, hey, I know you, I know you, I know you, and everybody else has that same experience. It's like really wild. Um, it's just so nice. Uh, to like you'll just look around and see all these people that you've known and like worked with on Slack and had your classes with and chatted with in the other channels on Slack. Um, it's really, really cool. People will also recognize you and be like, "Oh, hey, like Nick and I met at, we met up face to face. We had some, some chats on Slack and stuff, but then we met up face to face and at Fall Fest, and it's just it's a little hard to describe what it's really like. You like form bonds with these people, and then you finally get to see each other. It's like it's the coolest thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. And I absolutely agree. And it feels like that for us on the staff side as well, where we get to see you all in advising appointments and, in our career services events. And then when we get to see you in person, it's like, oh my gosh, I've only seen you shoulder up before, but it's great to see you now in person and get to chat with you all. So definitely. Nick, would you like to share a little bit more about your experiences with Fall Fest?
Sure, I'd echo a lot of what David said. It really is a nice experience to get everyone together and put names to faces and see how, yeah, building connection with people in person. Highlighting a few stories. One neat one was I was at the time of Fall Fest when I went, I was in CIS 521, which is the AI class, and someone on, I think it was Piazza at the time, asked Professor Chris Callison Birch if we could attend lecture in person. And he said, yeah, of course, you can come by. So I got to see some of the lectures for course in person, and they aligned perfectly with what we were going over in the online course. It was same lecture at the same time. Another moment that really stood out to me was we were at dinner. It was a group dinner. I think I might have been with David at the time, actually. But Professor Liu from CIT 595 came and sat down at our table. And I was a little bit starstruck, and it was incredible to see him because he was one of my favorite professors in the program, and to get to speak with him on a more personal level was valuable. He was very warm and friendly, just like the other staff in the program. So overall, would highly recommend Fall Fest.
That's awesome, Nick. And I love that. I think it's a testament to how down to earth, the faculty are, how really awesome and genuine they are, and wanting to connect with our students and supporting them in their journey. So I'm glad you had that experience. As we're nearing time, I'm going to ask my final question to each of you, and that is, what advice would you give to prospective students that are considering Penn Engineering Online? And we'll start with you, Lexi.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that's a really good question. I think there's a lot of things I would say to this. And I think part of it is to just follow where your passion is leading you. I think, I think for me, that was really how I figured out what I wanted to do in the program. Like if you're drawn to an elective, if you're drawn to working on a certain type of project, follow that, pursue it, keep working on it, and see where that leads you. So I think you'll never know where you're going to end up at the end of this. And if you follow what you love, you'll end up in a really good place. So I would say that. And I think in the program itself, really just make sure you're taking advantage of that time, because being a student is just one of the most valuable times. You can call up people, you can reach out to people. I'm a student, I'm trying to explore this, I'm trying to learn more about this. It's just a really, really great time to be exploratory. So make sure you take advantage of that time. And I think one last thing that I'll say is you really will get out of the program what you put into it. So if you're investing in the community, if you're joining organizations, if you're doing side projects, if you're connecting with people who are also in the program with you, you'll get a lot out of it. So I think it can be up to you how much you're able to put into it, how much you want to put into it. But I think the more that you do, the more that you'll receive from your experience in the program.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lexi. We'll take it over to you, David.
I'd say what I have to say is pretty much exactly what Lexi said. Yeah, you really get, like follow your passion. The thing is like the program itself is pretty is a bit broad. Like you touch on a lot of different things. As Professor Farmer says, one of our core professors, it's like almost nobody absolutely loves every part of it, but because it's just a very diverse set of things. But you know, you'll find things that you really like, and yeah, it makes sense to pursue those. Yeah, and yeah, you'll get out what you put in. You know, some folks, yeah, some folks like really engage and they get a lot out of it. You know, I forget how many students we have in the program, but it's over 2,000, isn't it? Is that right? Sorry, you? It's
Yeah,
like
something around
2,500,
those
something like
numbers.
that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of students, and like we've said before, there's a good number of students who are in the that have positions in the companies that, you know, those of us who want to pivot to tech want to work for. Um, and so yeah, and having in this program, like you can if you network right, yeah, you can, it helps a lot. You know, making the connections with folks. Uh, you know, there's like you'll have like, you know, maybe you have like socials in your area, like meetups and then that sort of thing. Yeah, so
Definitely.
that's what I would say. Mhm.
Thanks so much, David. Definitely lots of networking opportunities in there. Nick, over to you for your advice to students.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. What I would say is if you're at all interested in the program, definitely look into it. It is a worthwhile program. I see some very dramatic career shifts come out of it. And then, as you know, David and Lexi said, you do get out of it what you put in. So, if you're interested and you're willing to put in the effort, go for it.
Fantastic. Well, I want to take a second to thank each of you, David, Nick, and Lexi, for your time, taking time out of your busy day to come share a little bit more about your experiences, your career journeys, and any advice that you had for prospective students. I really appreciate your time, as does Jackie. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Jackie.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. You guys were amazing. Loved hearing your stories. And yes, I'm sure Saryu and I agree. It is just as much fun for us at Fall Fest and at graduation to meet so many students because, you know, obviously we've met them over Zoom, but to actually meet them in person and see all the interactions in person is really, it's such a great thing. So totally agree with that for sure. So now that you've gotten lots of great information and you've heard from our alumni and our student panelists and Saryu, and we've just thrown so much at you, I can almost guarantee that after this webinar is over, you're going to have questions. So what do you do? So the first thing I would recommend, we have a great FAQ database in our website. Go to our website, look up those questions that you have, a good majority of them there. That would be the first place that I would start. I also mentioned office hours. We love to meet with our prospective students. Our admission team, we have office hours almost every day of the week. We have office hours in the evening. We have office hours on the weekends. So sign up for those one-on-one office hours. And we're glad to answer your questions there. And as I mentioned, we have a ton of other events. We have coffee chats, which is a very informal session where you can ask questions. We answer them. There's no formal presentation. It's very informal. So sign up for those coffee chats. We have lots more webinars coming up. On September 18th, we have a webinar featuring our Associate Dean of Graduate Programs, and then our 3 program directors of each of our programs. So that would be another great webinar to attend. So lots of events. Go on our website. You can register for events, and always email us. We do our best to get back to emails within 24 hours, obviously during working hours, but we definitely do our best to get back to you right away. So again, we're happy to help you. Please reach out, stay in touch with us, and we are so happy you were able to join us today. Thanks so much, and have a good rest of your day or evening. Bye-bye now.